The most bizarre events in Chinese history. China's history is like a treasure chest filled with surprises. And today, we're unlocking the lid to reveal 5 events that will make your jaw drop and your eyebrows raise. Join us as we dive deep into the annals of time to uncover the most bizarre events that China has to offer. From lost underwater cities to the mystery of an immortal mummy, and even an all-out war on pests, this episode will leave you in awe and stitches. So, put on your detective hats and get ready to uncover the most mind-boggling, eyebrow-raising, and just plain bizarre events in Chinese history. The floating city of Xicheng, Lion City. Let's kick things off with a story that sounds like it's straight out of a fantasy novel. Imagine a city submerged beneath the surface of a lake, like a real-life Atlantis, but with more pandas. We're talking about the legendary Cheng, also known as the Lion City, hiding out beneath the waves of Qiandao Lake. But how on earth did this happen? Well, let's go back to the groovy 1950s, when someone had the brilliant idea to flood the city intentionally. Maybe they wanted a new swimming pool, or just fancied underwater real estate. Who knows? Fast forward a few decades and boom! Xicheng resurfaces, quite literally, as if it decided it was time to make a comeback. What's truly mind-blowing is that the ancient architecture and relics were preserved in pristine condition underwater. It's like they've been marinating down there for centuries, just waiting for us to rediscover them. The city of Xicheng was intentionally submerged in the late 1950s. The Chinese government decided to flood the area to create the Xinan River Reservoir as part of a hydroelectric power project. This ambitious project led to the gradual submersion of the city, which eventually disappeared beneath the rising waters of the newly formed lake. Xicheng remained hidden beneath the lake's surface for several decades, known only to local fishermen and divers who occasionally stumbled upon its remnants. It wasn't until the early 2000s that the world rediscovered this submerged treasure. What makes the floating city of Xicheng so remarkable is the astonishing preservation of its ancient architecture and cultural artifacts beneath the water. The city's structures, including temples, archways, and intricate carvings, have been remarkably well preserved due to the lack of exposure to air, which typically leads to decay and deterioration. The colorful details and intricate designs on these structures are still visible, offering a unique glimpse into the architecture of ancient China. Since its rediscovery, efforts have been made to preserve and protect this underwater historical treasure. Conservationists and archaeologists have worked diligently to study the site, document its history, and ensure that it remains protected for future generations. Visiting the submerged Lion City has become a popular activity for divers and tourists seeking a one-of-a-kind underwater adventure. It's like stepping back in time and exploring a lost world beneath the waves. The story of the floating city of Xicheng serves as a testament to the resilience of history, even when hidden deep beneath the surface. The mystery of the immortal lady Zhui. All right, folks, now, brace yourselves for a tale that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about mummies. We're diving headfirst into the enigma of Lady Zhui, a rock star of the Han Dynasty. The body of this noble woman from over 2,000 years ago looked as fresh as a daisy when her remains were discovered. We're talking about the kind of preservation that would make even your grandma's pickles look amateur. Lady Zhui's mummy has been hanging around for millennia, looking less like a relic and more like she's ready for a night out on the town. We're talking about skin that's smoother than a baby's bottom and hair that's still on point. How on earth is this possible? Is there some ancient Chinese skincare routine we don't know about? We'll dig deep into the science behind her incredible preservation and discuss all the wild theories that have been thrown around. Zhui's body was found in an airtight and water-resistant tomb, which played a crucial role in preserving her remains. The extraordinary preservation of her body is believed to be the result of a combination of factors, including the airtight tomb, the type of soil, and the layers of insulating material surrounding her burial. Today, Zhui's mummy, also known as Lady Dai, is housed in the Hunan Provincial Museum in Changsha, where she has been the subject of extensive scientific research and study. The Forbidden City's hidden treasures. Ladies and gentlemen, get your imaginary passports ready, because we're about to take a virtual journey to the granddaddy of all Chinese landmarks, the Forbidden City. Now, if you thought your aunt's attic was a treasure trove, wait till you see what's hiding in the Forbidden City. The Forbidden City, known as the Zijincheng in Chinese, earned its name because it was off-limits to the general public for centuries. It served as the imperial palace for Chinese emperors from the Ming dynasty, 1368 to 1644, to the end of the Qing dynasty, 1644 to 1912. Access to the Forbidden City was restricted to the emperor, his close family, high-ranking officials, and servants. Ordinary citizens were not allowed to enter the palace complex, hence the name Forbidden City. The Forbidden City, also called the Palace Museum, houses over 1 million unique and priceless artifacts from throughout China's long and rich history, including paintings, pottery, calligraphy, bronzeware, and court documents. It is China's #1 treasure house. Each piece tells its own story and has its striking character. But here is where the story of the Forbidden City gets more interesting. During the Chinese-Japanese War, particularly the Second Sino-Japanese War, 1937 to 1945, the Forbidden City faced significant threats due to its cultural and historical importance. Concerned for the safety of priceless treasures within its walls, an extraordinary effort was made to protect these artifacts from potential destruction or looting by invading forces. The Chinese government, along with museum staff and cultural preservationists, undertook a massive operation to safeguard the Forbidden City's treasures. All these 11,589 chests of valuable artifacts, including paintings, calligraphy, porcelain, and historical documents, were carefully packed and transported to safer locations away from Beijing. This mission was aimed at ensuring that these irreplaceable cultural treasures would survive the war. The Forbidden City's treasures were successfully preserved, and the site remained largely intact despite the turmoil of the war. How? That is another story for another day. The last Qing emperor and his love for eunuchs. Hold on to your crowns, folks, because we're getting into the dramatic life of Puyi, the last emperor of the Qing dynasty. This guy's story that makes reality TV look like a snooze fest. Puyi was born in 1906 and ascended to the throne as the Xuantong Emperor, also known as the last emperor, at the tender age of 2. His reign marked the twilight years of the Qing dynasty, which had ruled China for centuries. However, by the time Puyi took the throne, the Qing dynasty was in a state of decline, facing internal strife and external pressures from foreign powers. Puyi's reign was unconventional in many ways. He was a child emperor, and real political power rested with regents and advisors. Puyi had limited control over his own life and was largely isolated within the Forbidden City. One aspect that has garnered attention is Puyi's unique relationship with eunuchs. He developed close bonds with some of them, and these relationships went beyond the traditional master-servant dynamic. Some accounts suggest that he considered them as friends and confidants, perhaps because he lacked companionship due to his isolation. He lacked personal autonomy for much of his life, and his relationships with eunuchs in the Forbidden City have raised questions about the nature of those relationships. Some historians have suggested that Puyi may have had close bonds with some eunuchs. Puyi's life took yet another unusual turn when he was imprisoned by the Japanese during World War II and placed as the puppet emperor of Manchukuo, a Japanese-controlled state in northeast China. After Japan's defeat, Puyi was captured by Soviet forces and later handed over to the Chinese communists. 4 Pests campaign. Get ready for a history lesson that's more bizarre than trying to teach a cat to fetch. Let's dive into one of China's most unusual and wild events, the 4 Pests campaign. So what's all the fuss about? China in the 1950s decided it's had enough of sparrows, rats, flies, and mosquitoes, but instead of calling in the exterminators, they launch a full-scale war on these critters. The goal? Total elimination. The 4 Pests campaign was a large-scale and highly controversial pest control campaign initiated by the Chinese government in the late 1950s and early 1960s during the leadership of Mao Zedong. Sparrows were believed to be a significant threat to grain crops as they fed on seeds and young shoots. The campaign aimed to reduce the sparrow population dramatically. Rats were carriers of disease and were known to consume large quantities of stored grain. Their reduction was seen as crucial for public health and food security. Flies were associated with the spread of diseases like dysentery and cholera. The campaign aimed to eliminate them to improve public health. Mosquitoes were carriers of diseases such as malaria. Controlling their population was intended to reduce the incidence of mosquito-borne diseases. Interesting, isn't it? The campaign targeted 4 pests believed to be responsible for the spread of disease, crop damage, and other societal problems. They wanted those pests gone, like yesterday. But here's where things get weird and wild. Initially, the campaign seemed to achieve some success. The sparrow population did decline, which led to a temporary increase in grain production. However, this initial success masked a catastrophic ecological consequence. Sparrows not only consumed grain but also played a crucial role in controlling crop-damaging insects like locusts. With the significant decrease in the sparrow population, locusts and other pests proliferated, causing widespread damage to crops. While it initially had some positive outcomes, it ultimately resulted in unintended ecological and social consequences. You see, when you mess with Mother Nature, she tends to throw a curveball or two. The unintended consequences were unexpected. It's like a slapstick comedy of ecological mishaps, with a dash of ecological disaster. These were the most bizarre events in Chinese history. And don't you dare go anywhere, because History Duck has plenty more historical gems up its feathered sleeve. Hope you enjoyed these mind-blowing stories from China's history, and be sure to share your thoughts and favorite bizarre moments in the comments below. If you're as intrigued by history as we are, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more captivating episodes presented by the History Duck.